going to be high if you don't have healthy fund balance, and if you do have a healthy fund balance. We have not had to borrow for 3 years. So
Right, but we could, I mean, what would you look into, because it wouldn't be a, hey, let's just it away. It would be, if you look at a 3-year plan and this transition thing, and we did it in a quicker way, and then we got a referendum coming, we got a lot of work to do here, but, I mean, I think a referendum should accommodate growth in our staff. So in the future, let's make sure it accommodates growth in our staff. And so that's why I'm asking. And then you look at the cost of money, so we would take out a loan for a year, lend to a bank and say, this is how much it's going to cost. So then the question is, it's not the end of the world, is would we add to this thing, you know, $10,000 on interest, I guess is what we're talking about? I mean, we could put a number on that.
But we actually do short-term borrowing. And do you only borrow what you need for that particular point in time? And we don't just, we can't just go to a bank because we're a public institution and we rely on taxes to pay it back. And so there are a couple of firms that we go through that take care of the short-term borrowing.
Didn't we have a line of credit set up with
line of credit?
We did at one time.
Because that way we wouldn't have to pay the fees to have everybody set up the paperwork to borrow. So we set up a line of credit 2 years ago. And didn't have to use it because our fund balance.
Is that still in cap or?
No, we need to renew it.
It's just an option. I'm just sort of covering all our options, that it is an option. So, and if we budget well and work hard, there's a lot of options out there when it comes to these challenges.
Linda, you would get that information out tomorrow, and then,
I will not have the June 30th money by tomorrow.
right,
That's, we're going to have to talk with the audit people to see
okay.
how we can do that.
So you'll send what you can tomorrow.
I'll send the audit and I'll send the fund balance information.
Okay, correct. And then how does the board want to proceed?
I think we need to do a meeting.
Pardon me?
I think we need to meet again.
So, set up a special meeting, is that what you're saying?
When can we get a ballpark estimate on for a June 30 quote?
I'm not going to know until we can talk about it.
Well, if we're supposed to approve the preliminary budget by next meeting, that means we need to meet before next meeting and talk about these numbers.
Do you have a goal, like, to have this at a certain time before the teachers sign the contract? If they don't have a number for their contracts, like, are you set to try to get this done by June 15th, or do you have a date in mind?
We never have settled, at least as far as I know, on the real salary before teachers leave for the summer. What every contract says, or in the past, what every letter of intent said, is that they would be paid no less than the year that they were in at that point, and that the salary would be adjusted whenever negotiations had been completed. And so what we're doing now is just what we've done.
In our last meeting, it was discussed, and various people, and myself, and maybe somebody else, we all recommended, but no motions were made, that we need to make this happen before contracts are signed. And so we're, but you know, that we'll see.
Contracts are due June 15th.
How many do you have signed?
So in order to fulfill that, we're going to have to make some big assumptions on the current budget, whether we're going to meet that or not. We can take a look at the fund balance and see where it's at right now, but again, in order for us to meet the deadline that you're talking about,
I have to say, I do not think that we can get contracts. Even if you go through all of the financial stuff, we can't do that. Plus, make sure that this is all correct and get new contracts issued by June 15th. I mean, it's impossible.
Why?
Well, I think the piece missing that we were discussing is because of the new era of school budgets and teacher salaries and this all is unknown. I know we discussed last week, we need to get numbers on contracts. Because there's lots of discussion that any other contract you sign from any company, there's a salary on it. So that was a discussion we had, that was just a discussion. So that's where I don't know if the contract should
There's a
change.
settlement crunch on it. But because you're going through negotiations and you're figuring out your budget in June, you're not going to have a real budget until October. But as we get into June and July, we can pretty much estimate where we're going to be barring any craziness in math. So at that point, and when negotiations are completed, then we have the new contract number. But to have that before June 15th is impossible. For one, we don't have even a preliminarily approved budget, and to issue contracts without a budget that has at least been approved as a preliminary, that'd be tricky.
I'm curious.
A lot of schools will go retroactive back to the,
How many contracts we have, right? So compared to most years, a lot of our contracts are back in, what are we looking like this year? Well, I'd like to find, because that would be really interesting. Are people loving their contracts or
No,
not?
you don't have very many.
Well, you guys, our hands are tied on this. We have this timeline, and we don't have we don't have a 16-17 salary to put on a 16-17 contract until this is done. So what has been done historically is that you put on the contract, you're not going to make any less than this, which is what you're making this year. I mean, it's the best we can do to meet the requirements.
So right now,
Okay, the board
they
is-
know they got what they got last year plus CPI of 0.12%. That's,
Well, no, the 0.12% hasn't been approved by the board. And so what's on their contract that they're been asked to return by June 15th is, you're not going to make any less than you did this year.
A teacher's contract runs July 1st to June 30th. The teacher's contract, the contracts that are out there for them to sign. What is that effective date?
It's the date,
July
May
1st.
15th to June 15th is when contracts are distributed and
But
returned.
what is the effective date of the contract? The new contract is effective June 15th, June 30th, July 1st?
September.
No, I think it's the first day of work, it's whatever their first day is.
What I would offer, maybe, I'm tracking the contract. What I think what the board could do is approve the benefits package with it going inactive on this budget year. And so the contracts may not change, but we could have public documentation when we're ready, before June 15th. And the school board has the power to approve retroactive that, maybe however the payment, or you pay next year, the whole payment thing, you gotta pay 4 salaries. So that's what we could make some movement forward to say, we're gonna approve something, whatever that we were just talking about. If we get that approved before contracts are due, we don't have to change the contracts, and then people know that they're already put onto a structure, because that's all they've been asking for. And so we don't have to rewrite contracts, I think, because it'll be public documentation, and that would be a compromise to show how do we fix this culture that this school board is doing what we can, and we do have that authority to do that. So
you're saying that we approve the compensation structure as it is?
well, what I'm saying is to put a date on this. The contracts are due June 16th.
June
June
15th.
15th. Thank you.
Sorry.
That date?
Date makes a difference in the rules.
What I'm saying is, we have a special meeting, we do our homework, and we make a decision, and we publicize that decision. And then people, just like we want data, they'll have better decision data. So if they want a teacher, they want to go pump gas.
But it would also mean,
Teach somewhere else.
but it would also mean that we'd be approving this package with the numbers prior to knowing what that budget is going to be.
You're already being asked to do that.
And we always do that. When we just said, every year we approve the budget with planning.
Well, no, we do the budget, there's a preliminary approval of the budget with the best information we have, with some of the federal funds hanging out there, the final property tax, property valuation, and your count.
I believe that's all we're doing.
That doesn't
Same
come
thing.
until October.
Right, we're not doing
The
anything different.
first check that will be cut on the contracts that are due June 15th, the first check that everyone will receive based on that contract is June 15th.
Yeah.
So that's why you've got the time to make an informed decision that is sustainable.
Well, there's two things I want to offer. We, the school board, have time. But I think we need to respect these people that are paying their families' bills. And we need, why would they sign a contract if we are at the school board cannot show any movement forward?